words of my mouth and the meditations from our hearts be always acceptable in thy sight. O God, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Amen. Jason, our deacon postulant, and I are trying to meet regularly, and he mentioned to me a passage from a book. Actually, it was a podcast that he had heard on the loft. And it was a podcast that Kate Braestrup was speaking in. And I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Kate Braestrup, but before she was an author of memoirs and a chaplain to the Maine Warden Service who enforces fish and wildlife law and responds to a variety of outdoor calamities, she was a screenwriter for daytime television. And over the years, she has witnessed what she calls the magnificence of mourners, describing mourners as both tender and brave. A mother will smooth the wet hair from her drowned son's face, and a dad will hold his hand. The spouse will lay a flower on his breast and murmur endearments. About 10 years ago, she met with a mother and a father who wondered if their 5-year-old daughter would be hurt by seeing her 4-year-old cousin who died when an ATV rolled over him. Kate counseled the parents that she thought it would be okay and it would not make it worse. But she said to the parents that they knew what was best for their child. At the funeral, their daughter, little Nina, opened the door to the cool room where Andy's body lay. Her parents said to her, "You know, Nina, Andy's not going to be able to stand up or walk or talk or even open his eyes." And Nina said, "I know." And she opened the door and walked right up to the table where Andy's little body was covered with a quilt his mom had made for him when he was a baby. She walked all around that table and touched him and made sure he was all there. And then she took his hand and put her head down on his chest, and she started talking to him. After about 10 minutes, her mother asked Nina if she was ready to go. She said, "No, not yet. But I'll tell you when I am." So she smoothed the hair back from Andy's brow and started singing to him. And then she put a Fisher-Price telescope in his hand so that he could see anything he wanted to see from heaven. And then she said, "I'm ready to go now, but he's not going to be getting up, so I have to tuck him in." So she went around the table again, very carefully, tucking him in, and said, "I love you, Andy Dandy." And then she said goodbye. We can all learn a lesson from sweet little Nina. Nina, who treated Andy like a saint in life and in death. And that's what we are called to do also. It is the reason that we lift up the saints who have gone before us and who are living among us today on this All Saints' Day. On All Saints' Day, in our faith community and in many others, the losses that we have borne this past year and before then come front and center and are named for all of us to hear on holy ground as we gather in the sanctuary and let our grief bind us together in a new and powerful way. On All Saints' Day, there is no chaos. There are no arrangements to be made, and we are all in this together. And the ones we are remembering are long settled in their resting places. It's a chance for us to treasure them together. We all enter that sheltered and quiet landscape of our hearts at the same time, today, in the same place, today, in this moment. As you bring up the faces of your dearest departed before your mind's eye today, in this moment, cherishing the saints who loved you and whom you loved, peacefully and uninterrupted, your neighbor is doing the very same thing next to you. We enter the valley of the shadow of death together and walk through it in solidarity with one another. The saints in our lives are resurrected in our hearts, brought to life in this time and in this place. Whether on one side of the border between life and death or the other, we all want to be with our loved ones. So this is what we are about today, remembering the saints in whom God's light did shine brilliantly, and recognizing how God shines through the living saints who are important to us now. On All Saints Sunday, I would like us to imagine Jesus standing here among us, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the agnostics, those who doubt, those who spiritually are impoverished, those who have nothing to offer, those for whom nothing seems to be working. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are those who are living with a terminal diagnosis, those who have buried their loved ones, those who are hoping for a child, and those mothers who have miscarried, those who can't fall apart today because they have to keep it together for everyone else. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who nobody else notices. The adults who sit alone at coffee hour 3 times and never return. The kids who sit alone at middle school lunch tables. The laundry guys at the hospital. Blessed are the parts of ourselves that are so small they cannot come up for air. The parts of ourselves that don't want to make eye contact with a world that only loves winners. Blessed are the forgotten, the closeted. Blessed are the unemployed, the unimpressive, the underrepresented. Blessed are the teens who have to figure out ways to hide new cuts on their arms or new ways to find an opioid. Blessed are those who hunger for thirst and righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the wrongly accused, those for whom life is hard, those without documentation, those without lobbyists, those foster kids, trophy kids, special ed kids, and every other kid who just wants to feel safe and be loved and never does. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Blessed are those who make terrible business decisions for the sake of people. Those who have outlived shame and fear and dread caused by someone else for no good reason. Those who step between the bullies and the weak. Those who delete hateful comments on social media. Those who have forgiven us when we didn't deserve it. Blessed are all these saints who teach us how to live a blessed life. In a few moments, we will take time to name the saints in whom God's light did shine, having gone before us. Light once shined in and through us. So in this moment, I'd like to recognize how God shines through the living, those saints who are important to you now. Please take the card out of your bulletin and write the name of one saint on that card. A person who is a saint to you. And then afterwards, I'd like you to stick that card in your pocket or your purse and write them a note this week, telling them how grateful you are for them. Blessed be all the saints in our lives whom we remember and honor today. In the name of God.